So you've got all these ever-increasing drives of tension. Global tension doesn't have to be the end of the world, but that tension's going to go up, and there's no end in sight. So there's no end in sight of gold going up alongside it.
Hello and welcome back to Soar Financially, here from the floor of the Deutsche Goldmesse in Frankfurt, Germany. My name is Kai Hoffman, I'm the AnewFN mining guy over at Next, and of course your host of this channel, and I'm looking forward to an in-person discussion with Clem Chambers. You're the CEO and founder of AnewFN, and Clem, you wear so many hats. You're a multi-tool, you're like a Swiss Army knife when it comes to economy.
And I've been called a tool before, but not in that sense.
I meant it in a positive and endearing way there, Clem. And I really appreciate you joining us here in Frankfurt, coming out. You were a keynote speaker here yesterday at the conference. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Yeah, we got to talk about your topic, of course. Gold is for war. Controversial name, because nobody likes to talk about war, typically, and benefit from it in particular.
I think war is controversial, but not the idea that gold is for war, because when you think about it for a bit of time, it's kind of obvious. I mean, gold has always bugged me, because I'm not a gold bug. I own quite a lot of gold as part of a diversified portfolio of risk. And you go, well, if you listen to the hardcore gold bugs, they always talk about, oh, we're going back to the gold standard, oh, we're going to have currency that's going to be gold and silver. That's their idea. And for me, that's patently never going to happen, right? So then you've got to ask yourself, what is the use case for gold? Well, there's jewelry. We like jewelry, but you know, it's finite. There's electronics. We like electronics. That's a good use case for it. And then you go, well, what other use cases are there? And the obvious one, because most gold is in government's vaults. And you go, so if they're not going to make coinage, which everyone thinks they will, but you know they're not going to, what's it doing there? Why have they got it there? And then when you look back at history and you read about submarines of gold going backwards and forwards in World War II, you realise that the gold is there because it's the ultimate currency that everybody would accept if you're in big trouble. Okay, so governments keep it for a strategic use in case of serious conflict. So, okay, makes perfect sense. Why else would government hold at great cost these lumps of metal? What is it about gold? Well, that is your answer, because gold is for war. And you can't not be able to fight a war because you have no gold. It's like saying, well, I've got tanks, but I haven't got ammunition. It is ammunition for a serious conflict. And you can see, I mean, when Saddam Hussein got kicked out, the American army confiscated lorry loads, tipper truck loads of gold bars that they were driving to the north of the country away from the American forces. And you go, oh, yeah. You know, everywhere you now look, you will see that governments hold gold just in case there was a terrible conflict. And then it makes sense. So, gold is for war. Countries hold gold just in case the worst happens, for security, strategically. Well, where is the arrow of that strategy pointing? Is it less stress, less global conflict, more peace, kumbaya around the international fire? No, it's the other way, ever increasing spiral of rising tension. Now, if you are government, and as a sidebar, a lot of people make the mistake of saying, those people are stupid, this is the truth. No, those people don't know what they're doing. This is the truth. These people do know what they're doing. So if tension is rising, what do they have to do? They have to rearm. You're going to be seeing plenty of that. Well, part of rearmament is building up your reserve of gold. So countries are going to be buying bullion and putting it with the rest of it. That's a major driver. It's not just, you know, India's got a festival on, or suddenly big Rolexes are popular in America. There's these countries which right now are buying gold to lay in because they feel the tension of the world is going up, and they have to lay in that strategic reserve. If you look around the world, there's lots of strategic things going on, particularly in minerals. So Europe wants rare earth, Europe wants cobalt, Europe wants all that stuff in-house. They don't have to get it from China because they feel that these critical minerals and strategic minerals, the supply chain is now under threat because of increasing global tension, right? And gold is part of that picture, apart from when you think about all of a sudden China buying, why is China buying gold? Do they want to make more jewelry? I don't think so, right? Because gold is for war. Countries are laying in gold because they feel more vulnerable to conflict. And therefore, in the same way as you hire more soldiers, buy more tanks, develop more airplanes, you buy more gold. And that is going to be a long-term driver, not just an overnight thing, not 6 months thing, not a thing just while Trump is causing a little bit of a stir. It's going to be a systemic thing until further notice. And if you think about it, what exactly is going to happen to make everybody have a big hug and say, you're my friend now? Oh yes, let's not fight in the Middle East. Let's not have a conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Imagine if they settled that tomorrow. Trump pulls off a miracle, comes in and says, stop that, it's silly. That tension's not going down. You know, Putin's still going to be there, Ukraine is still going to be there, the whole thing is still going to be festering away. So that stress is not going to go away. Middle East, is there ever going to be an end in sight there? Then you've got China and Taiwan, then you've got all these other potential hotspots. So you've got all these ever-increasing drives of tension. Global tension doesn't have to be the end of the world, but that tension's going to go up, and there's no end in sight. So there's no end in sight of gold going up alongside it.
Maybe as a follow-up to that, and a lot of questions popped into my head while you were chatting. And
I don't want you to get your difficult questions in.
No, it's like, I hope it's an easy one to answer, but it seems like it's only happening in the East. Like, why is the G7 not buying any gold? Like, if you're saying it's for war, and it seems like the US in particular is trying to force World War III, especially with the Biden politics of the last week, like is allowing Ukraine to shoot missiles into Russia, deep into Russia, using US missiles, for example, just provoking a third world war to a degree, which I fully don't agree with. Like, why aren't they buying gold hand over fist in that case?
Well, do you know they're not? I mean, for a start, they are repatriating their gold, and that's been the theme now for, you know, a few recent years. Well, why are they doing that? You can't spend your gold in a conflict if it's not in your bank. Yeah, so you know the repatriation of gold is all part of that theme. Yeah, so I mean, if you think about this tension, it's kind of been going up for quite a few years now, and you know there are countries which are perhaps a little bit more relaxed, a little bit slower to move, a little bit less aggressive than others. So you know you've got America, for example, where they will think their treasury bond is strong enough, so they don't have to maybe, well, they've got a lot of gold. I mean, they've got a hell of a lot of gold, but maybe countries in Europe aren't necessarily thinking in those terms just yet. But if China is, that's enough. The Middle East, they're big buyers. Oh, yeah. There's plenty of state buyers of gold. And when you think about the people that are buying, they are more on the front foot geopolitically. Yeah, they're more, let's just say, volatile. Yeah, so as tension continues to rise, other countries that are a bit more sanguine will also start to buy. So there's again another driver. It's just once you accept or think there's some element of truth to that gold in government reserves is there for the worst situation, it's an insurance policy. If you accept that, well, they're going to need more insurance policies, aren't they, going forward? Until the day that somebody says, well, let's stop messing about, let's just have, you know, economic good times, let's all cooperate, let's go back to where we were before this nonsense kicked off. Until that becomes a theme, the price of gold's going to go up. The moment, you know, the angels sing and everybody's friends again, the gold will go down. Yeah? When there's less global stress, and that is a theme, and what more could you ask for? Gold will go down. But that's never going to happen.
I got lots of follow-up questions for you there, Glenn.
Go on.
One of them is like I used to ask in other interviews as well, like how geopolitical is the gold price right now? Because usually geopolitical gold price, when there's tension in the Middle East or so, gold shoots up a little bit, but it quickly comes down and retreats. Well, we haven't seen that retreat to levels we've used to.
Donald Trump gets in, he's going to solve the Ukraine like that, so he says. Gold price goes straight down, doesn't it?
Theoretically.
Well, it did. It just went down the last week or so.
It's coming back now. We're back to 2,700, yeah.
Putin launches a missile that nobody knows what it is, whether it's an ICBM, is it a new hypersonic, you know, whirligig. Up it goes again, right? So even there, you can see how the war theme affected the price of gold both down and up. So, you can say, well, that's a coincidence, and it maybe is a coincidence, but, you put enough data points together and you will come up with the idea, well, why else do they bother? You've got to ask yourself, why else would you have a load of gold bars in the basement? What is the other purpose for that? Oh, they know it's real money. What are they going to use that real money for then, eh? They don't seem to want to be using it for anything at the moment. And when was the last time they used it as real money? Oh, well, Second World War. Oh, funny that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but this is really amusing. In the Second World War, and I can never remember this blasted name of this element, but the element they make armor-piercing shells out.
Oh, tungsten.
Tungsten. There you go. I always want to say thorium, but it's not thorium. Tungsten. Okay. The major European supplier of tungsten was Portugal. So the Germans were buying their tungsten in the Second World War off Portugal with forged £5 notes, British £5 notes. They were forging British £5 notes and buying tungsten off the Portuguese in forged fivers that they were printing in Germany and passing off from the Portuguese as real English fivers. And the Portuguese started to go, hold on a minute, these are still wet. And they refused to take forged £5 notes from the Germans for their tungsten. So the Germans had to pay in gold, no doubt. Yeah. So there's an example of the problem of paper money in those conflicts, right? And it's ironic that the Third Reich, who are macho and powerful, that was their picture, were actually forging money to buy from the Portuguese minerals. So, we're back around to, in war, what is money is gold. Yeah. So that's why gold is for war. And every angle you look at it, you come back to that time and time again. And while the drumbeat of tension increases, that will be a big deal. Now, what I would say to people, there's an overlay here. Forget gold is for war. It's not necessarily mean put all your money in gold. It's going to be the end of the world. But that is a drive that will add real value to an asset. Gold is going up in real terms because the demand for gold will go up in real terms because states will be laying in gold as tension increases. But you could say, if I want to buy a engineering company for my stock portfolio or a tech company for my stock portfolio, you could overlay that with the fact that ever-increasing tension will add to their value if they fit into the model of a company that will do more business the more geopolitical tension increases. So you can say, I want to buy a food company, which is the best food company to take advantage of ever-increasing geopolitical stress. Yeah. So you get, I've got a good food company, I like food because X, Y, and Z, and now I've got a good food company that fits my criteria and has a ever-increasing stress value that will add to its overall real value over time.
Is gold being weaponized right now? That's an interesting question because it used in a way to maybe potentially attack the US dollar. Like, I remember discussing, not just on our channel, but in general, we said, oh, if gold breaks above 2,000, the world must be burning.
Okay, right? First of all, you always should remember Gresham's law. Okay, and this goes for crypto too, for crypto people out there. Bad money drives out good, right? So gold, you might say, is great money, and that's why it's in the basement. That's why it isn't currency. No. It's that it's good money, and it's driven out by bad money, inverted commas, fear, right? That's not going to change. Gold is not going to replace the US dollar, and if it did, it would back the US dollar. Well, I don't think we're going to roll back economically 100 years to the moment they had to get rid of that idea. No. So weaponizing gold is a weapon, always has been. It will remain a weapon. So that's what you have to have that thought. Oh, hold on a minute. Governments don't hold gold in a basement so you can get dentistry or their electronic edge connectors can be kept in supply, or to make jewelry for ladies. They keep it it has a use case, and that use case is as a haven asset. It used to be flight capital, okay? And it's lost that use case because crypto is now flight capital. You cannot get through the airport with $100 million in gold, but you can with crypto. So that use case that was suppressing gold, of that it lost, which is flight capital, well, that's probably not coming back. But as an asset for conflict as a weapon, it remains relevant, and as demand for weapons goes up, as it is right now, the real value of gold will go up.
It's an interesting topic. Like, we're looking at inflation and other things. It seems like the US and other countries are shooting themselves in the foot by devaluing their currency, like on a daily basis.
You see, you're back to this. They're stupid. They don't know what they're doing. That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's not by accident. It's on purpose. Governments always inflate after a major disaster. They have to. COVID, everybody took 9 months off. Well, how much wealth did we lose through that? So they papered it over with fiat, which is why they like it. They can do things. You couldn't have papered it over with gold. Everybody would have had to have gone to the wall, right? But with fiat, you can paper it over. Everybody got between 10 and 20% poorer because of COVID, and they smoothed that out. So everyone's feeling poorer now. Well, why is that? Because we all sat on our backsides for a year during the COVID lockdowns and didn't produce anything. You know, it's obvious you're going to get poorer if you go on holiday for 9 months, whether it's enforced or random. The world went on holiday is now poorer. It's coming back. So how do you paper over that? You create inflation. You print money, hand it out, everybody feels fine. You know, but it's not accidental. And then once the trouble's over, they try to drive it out of the system, which they've succeeded in doing pretty much, right? So they generated that. I mean, okay, so America's got $37 trillion debt. How much inflation has there been? You knock off that inflation in real terms, you're back under 20 trillion again. Oh, it's not 20 trillion, under 30 trillion again. And then when you take the 5 trillion that the Fed's got in a bottom drawer, knock that off, you're down to 25 trillion. So it's a mistake to think these people don't know what they're doing. If they have to, they do it. Inflation can only be caused by one group of people, government, and they do it all the time, and when they don't want it anymore, it goes away, and when they want it, it arrives. Yeah, so the idea to think that they don't know what they're doing, they created inflation, that's wrong. They might actually do it on purpose, and in this case, especially they did it on purpose. If you look after the Second World War, you had massive inflation. Of course, everyone was bust, so they had to renege on their debt through inflation. So funny enough, you got inflation. If you're in a country which doesn't have a good way of taxing the people, how does it make its money? Through inflation. It just prints it. I'm not going to tax you, I'm just going to print it, and the value of your money is going to go down by 10%. That's my tax. I'm going to tax you through inflation. So those countries know exactly what they're doing. They're not going to collect tax directly from you because you'll run away and hide or lie, or they won't be able to come around your house and take your television. So they don't bother. They just print it, and they tax you by printing the money at the printing press, right? So it's a mistake to imagine this is an accident. And if you think that it's maybe there's a method behind their madness, you get a much clearer view of what's going on, and imagine they're just all incompetent muppets. They don't know what they're doing, because they do.
Yeah. So how is this going to play out? The current scenarios, like what's your forecast for the next 12 months? It sounds a bit short term, of course, but
the next 12 months. The American markets have got a final bubble leg to go, I believe. So we've had a boom. The market's a boom. It's all awesome, and there's some incredible valuations in lots of big companies. And you look at them, and you go, hold on a minute, 400 million Americans into 3 trillion at Nvidia. That's a lot of money each. That's a big number. Oh, there's another one. There's another one. And there's another one. 60 PEs. So a lot of people are worried about a retracement, a crash, a slump, end of the world, and all that stuff. But if you actually look at the charts, it's not in a bubble yet. It's not going on the vertical. And I believe that will come. I don't know when, but when it does, be warned, okay? No. Because bubble bust follows. And then, of course,
that's for general markets, you mean?
That's general market, yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, they come out and they'll print money and they'll QE and they'll QE this and they'll do that, and they will paper it over again, and we'll go back into that cycle that we've seen a couple of times over, well, we saw it COVID, we saw it in 2009. So the new economic cycle is the cycle of markets and markets breaking and government rescuing the day, inverted commas, and going through that cycle of boom, bubble, bust, government rescue, boom, bubble, bust, boom, bubble, bust. And we're going to go into the bubble. We could be in it, I don't think we are, but there will be a bubble sequence not very far away, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years. But when you see it, When he said that's lunatic on
Soar
that
Financial
thing,
here.
on Soar, yeah, you know, he was sore, and so is he. But you know, oh, he said that. When you see it, you'll know what's coming next, and that is going to happen, I think.
What are some of those indicators you would be looking at? Let's assume you open the Financial Times in the morning. What is something you look for?
Oh, everything is awesome, and the chart is going like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and normally, when everybody's warning against it, you're probably fine. It's when they stop.
Yeah.
It's when they stop warning against it, and it's going that way, and everybody's silent, and a few people are saying, rah, 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 it's going to infinity. The classic one, and as I don't really have a TV actually, is when it's on the mainstream news, the key mainstream news show, and it's the third item of the big news. The third news is, and Nasdaq hits 97 million. That's when it's all gonna come unstuck. So when it goes very, very mainstream, and your cab driver's talking about it, and your next door neighbours said, "You're in the markets, what's going on?" That's when it's all over. And when the exit liquidity shows up, i.e. people that haven't got a clue and want to jump in, when the FOMO is on the front page of the newspaper or the idiot media, that's when it's all over, and it's not there yet.
Yeah.
And we haven't gone quite vertical yet, because when it, you know, if gold went from where it is today to 3,500 in 2 days, it's all over.
Yeah.
If it just keeps going like it's doing now, $20, $17, no one's talking about it. Oh, you know, good gold. Ooh. And your next door neighbour isn't saying gold. Do you think it's the right time for me to buy? And when you don't see it as a third item on 60 Minutes, you're fine. The moment you see that, it's all over.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've been watching mainstream media, just CNBC and others. I'm just checking for headlines when gold reached new highs at 2750. There was a little article somewhere, like at the bottom of the page.
You're fine. You're fine. And the quieter it is, the more likely it is to go a long way.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is an inverse indicator.
Absolutely. Last time we also talked about mining stocks, and I'm trying to figure out like how they fit into the sort of the bigger picture of the gold picture potentially. Are they an indicator? Do you use them as a tool? Because they've been lagging behind, and gold has been sort of on its own for most of the time. Yes, GDX has moved, GDXJ has moved a little bit, but not in a way it should have. So do you use that as an indicator at all to tell you where things are headed?
There's this big issue out there for all equity markets, and you can see it in Toronto, you can see it especially in the AIM market in the UK. They are dead as dodos.
No.
Okay, and the reason they're dead as dodos is the audience has gone to crypto, right? Because we have to face, I mean, I used to run various private investor websites, and a large proportion of the audience are simply gambling. That's what they enjoy, it's their sport, and gambling on stocks is what they were doing. Well, there's a better casino now. It's called crypto. Yeah, and so they're all gambling on crypto. A lot of people are gambling on crypto, and the young generation, stocks, forget about it. No, you're kidding me. No, it's the next doggy coin with a funny hat.
No.
Crypto memes. The meme stock thing right now is massive. That's where all the crypto action is for the people that are making the money. It's this craziness. It's junior miners on steroids. Yeah, and that's where the people with the gambling instinct that used to be in mining stocks, a lot of them have gone, and the replacement generation are not there at all. So you've got this, used to be, you know, you go in, you're young, you love to gamble, you do well because the market's doing well at the time, you get killed, you go away and never come back, and the rump carries on going because maybe they make money, maybe they just love it, right? And there's another generation to come through, right? And so there's this and then, you know, the really old guys drop dead. So you've got this generational move through the markets. Well, that's got snipped by crypto. So you've got the Canadian markets having a hard time. You've got the AIM market disappearing. You used to have 2,000 stocks on it, it's now got 600, right? Because the ecosystem of predator and prey, well, the prey have gone. Yeah, they're on crypto getting predated.
Overfished, yeah.
They've been overfished, exactly right. So the predators are going around going, where's dinner? Where's dinner? So that is a major problem with the current situation in the market. Now, what would normally happen in a market, and can happen, is that people start making money because the predators die off as well, right? I mean, in London, the predators are dying off because, you know, the brokers, the promoters, they can't make money. So what are they going to do? Well, they're just going to disappear, try to find a new, go to crypto, start doing it there, right? Which a lot have. Yeah. So you would get predator prey back into balance, and of course your customer, your audience, if they're not making money, there has to be something wrong with them to stick around. I mean, you know, if you go into a casino, you'll find a lot of people who are gambling addicts, and they will always stick around and they'll always throw their money away. But the broad main market will not go to something and suffer pain. You know, they'll do it once. It's like the cat jumps on the stove, burns himself, never jumps on that stove again. So in the previous cycles, there have been waves of attrition, and there's been a new lot coming around, every new generation. But that's got cut off now. There'll be a rebalancing, I suspect, over the next few years, and then life will go on as normal.
So Clem, we've talked gold is good for war. What about silver? What's silver good for?
Well, I mean, it tags along, doesn't it? And there's lots of... it's funny because I was trying to come up with a metaphor, but it's actually, there's gold and the silver is a metaphor in its own right. Okay, so silver is one of those, I mean, people, you know, say it's going to be the end of the world, so I bought gold. That's no good. It's no good for you at the end of the world, or, you know, during the zombie apocalypse. You need silver because it's small currency. You know, you can't buy a chicken with a gold coin. Well, you can, but you're going to get a very expensive chicken, right? So the silver is for those sort of things, but you have to be pretty millennial to think in those terms. You know, it's platinum and there's palladium too, right? And they're suppressed because of all the reprocessing of cat converters and the electrification of cars. So there will be a number of years when platinum and palladium is suppressed. But when they've got chewed through those cat converters, and that platinum palladium is ending up in the hydrogen economy, platinum palladium are going nuts. So anybody looking for a 5-year you know, scheme, a thesis, platinum palladium's the one to lay in for the long term, because I don't even want to say this number because it's so small. I keep having to look it up to make sure, but it's something like 100 tons of platinum every year gets made. It's like it's like, you know, zero. I don't know what the exact number is because I can't remember it, but literally every year I must look this number up 3 or 4 times a year because it's so damn small. I can't believe it's that small. So it's 3,000 tons of gold a year.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot of tons.
180 metric tons.
There you go. And it's like, 180, I mean, it's probably about that size because platinum's really heavy. Yeah? So, and this is a critical catalyst for lots of clever stuff, and palladium too, right? So, but if you're chewing up all the collected cat converters of the last 30 years, which have all got a bit of platinum in, and they're not putting them back into cat converters in such a hurry, and they're seeing at some point that, well, nobody will want a cat converter, you can see how that suppresses the price. But when they've chewed all those cat converters, you've only got 120 tons a year coming out of the ground. So platinum will then go ballistic because platinum is an incredibly important catalyst. What I would say, the big picture is very, very exciting because, and everyone goes, oh, bloody hell, AI again. AI cannot be underestimated how incredibly important that is, because it's like inventing the steam engine for muscle power, right? It's muscle power, it's horsepower for your brain. Hopefully your brain's a bit better than one horse, but you know you see, they agree with me. The levering up of people's minds is just amazing, right? And the impact that will have is just huge. Now forget leveraging me up and leveraging you up and all those things that people talk about. Imagine education. You're at school, you were doing some subject, and the teacher went blah 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 blah. You went, what? I don't get that. Please, sir. And he said, put your hand down, we're carrying on. Or he said something other explanation to your question, you still didn't get it. Yeah. That's it. That was your career and that's subject over with. With AI, not only do you have the best teacher in the world, you've got Albert Einstein talking to you. He will rephrase that until you understand it. Yeah? So what's that going to do to education? Being educated by the smartest person on earth, who's got all the time in the world for you, one-to-one tuition. What's that going to do to the kids? Yeah. They're going to, you know, they're going to be, they already make me look stupid, but I mean, they're going to get such an amazing power up from that. Yeah. So the generation that gets educated by AI, and that will not be far off. They're going to be at the level of somebody who's 16 at the age of 11, and who knows what they're going to be like when they're leaving high school. Yeah. They're going to have already learned PhD stuff, and then what they're going to do, it's just the potential of the. People say to me, blah 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 blah, and I go, the human potential out there is just gigantic. People's potential is so taken care of. It's just really not harnessed at all, right? So the amount of human potential that AI is going to unleash is just going to completely change everything, and it's going to. Obviously, there's dangers and risks and all that good stuff, but with a bit of luck, and I'm sure people are always ready for the dangers before they're ready for the benefits, that's going to leverage up the economic activity just to such an extent that it's going to be a very, very exciting future.
Just real quick, maybe just to really make it crystal clear, what's the role of silver in the AI revolution?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it will be used in circuitry.
No, that's just like you mentioned, like power generation and stuff. And it'll be used.
All those people who, for the last 10 years, have been trying to crush the use of energy. Because remember, energy is life. Yeah, and to those people, there's too many of you. There's not enough of them, but there's too many of you. And you've got to wear sackcloth and ashes and be poor and sit around and singing Kumbaya and not eating so much food and not wasting so many resources. Blah 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 blah. And the way to choke that off is to choke off energy. Well, that's over now. There's going to be so much energy use, so much energy creation, that you're going to have this abundance of energy, and energy is life. And energy, I mean, Karl Marx basically said, you take mud, you add energy, you get stuff. Yeah. And that is economics. So if you choke off energy, you choke off stuff, and you choke off life, right? So with an explosion of energy generation for AI, just AI, is electricity equals intelligence, and there's no second place in intelligence. No government's going to be second place in intelligence either. I was going to say, yeah, well, let China be smarter than us, that's fine, we don't care. We're not going to have our own AI. None of them's going to do that. It's going to be a massive arms race in AI, never-ending arms race, and that's going to create a never-ending energy generation race, because AI is almost exactly equal to energy, right? But with all the energy plus mud equals stuff, right? You can have an abundance of energy, you can have an abundance of stuff. Yeah. So that's fantastic. If you look at a correlation that nobody talks about, it's energy and life expectancy, energy output and longevity. Correlation is not causation, Maybe it is in that case, right? Which is one of the things that always annoys me. I say, oh, look at this, energy is going up and climate's going up and life expectancy is going up.
Strange how that worked out.
Strange how that one works out.
Yeah. Clem, maybe as a last question, a bit of a summary question as well. Like you gave a keynote presentation here yesterday. What were some of the takeaways that you wanted the audience to take away from the keynote?
I think, this is a gold conference, so people are interested in gold. And they are thinking about gold in terms that I think are a little bit speculative, to put it that way. That they think that, it's all going to come unglued, the wheels are going to come off, and society, you better tuck the gold away so that you can buy your way out of a zombie apocalypse. It's all very millennial and bad news and terrible things, right? And gold is real money, and inflation is, everyone's run by idiots, they don't know what they're doing, and fiat's rubbish and all that good stuff. And a lot of the crypto people think like that too, right? Yeah. But fiat isn't rubbish, fiat is great. Does anybody here not want a lot of it, right? So what is the correct model for gold, and what does that mean? Because, if you're holding gold during a period of ever-increasing peace like we had, a generation ago, it's going to go down, isn't it? So you're holding on to gold and everybody's getting friendly and your walls falling down and, Russia's losing its communism and snapping its nuclear weapons and, everything's going the way of peace. Gold's going down, right? And then now, doesn't matter where you look, it's just tension is rising, and the road to, apocalypse, we're on it. Doesn't mean we're going to get there, and I don't think we will. But we're not on the road to utopia, are we? No. We're on the road to dystopia. So you can look at it like that. Gold is for dystopia. You could vision it as that. And until we get off that road, not only is gold going to keep up with inflation, it's going to actually be worth more because the use case that it has is going to be more important. So then you know the direction of the market, and that's all you need to know. Which way is the market going? If you don't know which way the market's going, you shouldn't be in it, should you? But most people, you go, which way the market's going? And then they go, I don't know. It's like, okay, so you shouldn't be playing then, should you? I know, but I want a tip from you. Well, if you want a tip from me, you shouldn't be playing. Right? So once you know which way the market's going, because you've got your model and it all makes sense to you, you're in a position to take a position. Right? So if you have this itch to buy gold, but you don't know why, you want to think about gold. What is the use case of gold? And I haven't seen many people say that the core use case for gold is strategic holding as an insurance policy against war. And people need to be thinking about that, because in my book, that's the main use case for gold. And if you don't realize that, or you don't think it's true, then perhaps you might be barking up the wrong tree. And if nobody's here to lose money, so you need to research, you need to do your due diligence, you need to have your model, you need to follow it through, you need to have a plan, and you need to execute it. And hopefully this is just another data point in that.
No, fantastic. Clem, what a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for making it out to Frankfurt. Really appreciate it. And where can we follow more of your work? Is there a way to reach you?
I write for Forbes, and I have been for the last 25 years. So you can read my stuff there. And you can also read all the old stuff and find out I don't predict the past. I'm quite good at calling what happens next. And recently I called this breakout, by the way, because it was screaming all over the chart. And nobody was saying, it's screaming all over the chart, it's going to break out. So I wrote a piece saying, oh, it just broke out. Ha ha, look at that. So, they can read my other stuff and benchmark me. I've started a new website called AnewFN for a new financial network, AnewFN. We're in closed alpha at the moment, but we'll be coming into closed beta. So anybody that wants to get on the guest list for that, they can just put their name down, and as things develop, we'll tell them. It's the good old modern marketing, you do drops, you keep it to a group of supporters, all that good stuff. So, we've got some really exciting stuff coming along there in 2025. So that's the main place where you can follow me. And you can buy my old investment books that have been #1 on Amazon, but they're a bit long in the tooth, but still good.
Fantastic. Clem, thank you so much for coming out, and everybody else. Thank you so much for tuning in here to Soar Financially from the Deutsche Goldmesse in Frankfurt, Germany. Really appreciate you watching. One free way to support us is just by hitting that like and subscribe button. Helps us out tremendously, and we do appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with lots more. Thank you.
Please remember, click that subscribe button, click that like. That's important. You need it.